today, I want to tell you a story that is on Gawker, and I find Gawker a very I don't even read it, quite honestly. Somebody sent this to me. I stopped reading it a while back when they were just so vile on many, many things. But I want to read this story to you because I think this is really important. As a temporary government stands up in Kiev, this is the Ukraine, all hell breaks loose with pro-Russian protesters in Crimea. The news is starting to sound much grimmer for the Ukrainian Jewish minority. Earlier this week, a synagogue in the country's southeast was firebombed. There have been multiple reports of beatings of Jews and acts of vandalism at Kiev synagogues. A leading rabbi in Kiev has called for Jews to leave the city and the country if possible, though he later said he was stressing that it was dangerous for everyone out there, and the Israeli embassy has reportedly advised members of the Jewish community to stay off the streets. The Euromaidan protest and clashes that have swept through Kiev over the last few months are about the relative influences of Russia and Western Europe in Ukraine's trade and economic policy. But Independence Square has played host to a motley crew of ultra-nationalists, gay bashers, and neo-Nazis alongside the run-of-the-mill pro-Europe activists. Pro-Russian commentators and an increasing number of Westerners argue, in fact, that the revolutionary movement that has swept most of the country isn't supported but led by these right-wing fascists and is unleashing hell on the usual scapegoats, minorities, immigrants, and Jews. It's right to be skeptical of these arguments, as in some cases, as their proponents are working with public relation firms linked to the former president of the Ukraine and the Russian faction. There's some evidence for them, blah, 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 blah. I would just ask you, things are going to get murkier and murkier as time goes on in Europe. And I would ask you again to decide, where do you stand on the Jewish question? Will we be a country that will reject Jewish immigrants again? Will we be a country that doesn't step in and protect? I'm not saying that we step in and fight a war in Israel or anything else, but will we welcome Jewish immigrants into our country? The last time this happened, we did not. And it was really bad. And I'm telling you now that our students, our universities are being turned against the Jews. And just like it is in Europe, that is the small Satan. We are the big Satan, or just like it is in the Middle East. You'll see now that the former president or the president of the Ukraine that went over to Russia, he is now blaming the Zionists and the Americans for what is happening over in the Ukraine.
And this all fits in with this new study that the Germans did. They studied thousands of anti-Semitic hate messages.
This kills me. This kills me. This drives me out of my mind. I saw this last night.
Me too. I mean, do you ever pick up a newspaper? Do you ever read? Do you ever hear the radio? I mean, you should know who your friends are.
University.
It's unbelievable. Anyway, they were shocked to find that almost none of the anti-Semitic messages they studied out of the 14,000, 3% were from right-wing. 3%. The rest were from universities. The rest were from people, let's see, as they put it, that think that they share common values with liberal, humanistic, ostensibly sane people, but are part of the problem. As some of those people that have deeply embedded anti-Semitism that sometimes manifests itself in letters. So they tried to couch it in. They share some values with anti-Semites. They didn't even want to call them anti-Semites when they're writing these hate messages to the Israeli embassy. So these are liberals, they're humanists, and they're the people who think that they're the upper crust.
Yeah,
they're the college
professors, the college educated,
and they said priests.
Yeah,
and so
it's bad. It's I mean I know you have been on this for a while, and maybe look, I know this sounds crazy, but I know what I know. And I know that we were sent over to Israel for a reason. There was absolutely no way that could have happened. There's no way that should have happened. There's not one word of anything that I did over there that came from me. I prayed and prayed and prayed on what is it I'm supposed to say? What is it you want me to say? And that was the craziest thing we've ever done. And I've never figured out why we were supposed to do that. That cost me, I don't even know. I think that thing cost me like $5 million to produce. And I mean, we didn't get anything out of it. There was nothing we got out of that. And we didn't grow from it. There was no movement that sprang from it. There was nothing. And I have looked at that for a long time and said, Lord, why did you do that? And maybe it was for some one person that I know or don't know. I don't know. Maybe, I mean, he doesn't care what it takes to save one individual. He doesn't care. So maybe it was just to save one individual. I don't know. But I know we went over there for a reason. And that message is more true today than it was when I delivered it there at the Temple Mount. And that message is, you have to choose today. Which side will you be on? Who are you? Who are you as a people? Who are you as a family? And who are you as an individual? And will you have the courage to stand? The Ukraine is going to go towards Russia. It is going to fall into the hands of Russia again. And the people of Russia the people of the Ukraine are running to the Russians.
Supposedly, Russian troops are in control now of at least two Ukrainian airports.
So, but again, they've got terrorists at the airport, so you've got to have the big state. Mm-hmm. And that's how it happens every time. There's a terrorist someplace, and you have to have the big state. Please, America, please learn from these lessons.